y'all, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome to a Get Ready With Me, where I am not going to end up crying like a baby. I mean, we'll have to see, but I have the intention of moving forward without crying like a baby on camera for you all. If y'all had not seen my most recent Get Ready With Me, I was actually planning on doing this topic in that video, and it went a completely different direction, talking about the future of my channel, what I'm planning to do, content struggles, all of that sort of thing. Today we're straying from the serious and whatever topic in that, and we're gonna do the content that I meant to do in that video, and that is discussing sort of the straggling brands of, by straggling I mean like straggling along. Is that even a word? I think that's a word. I'm a writer, I should know this. But we kind of did already a couple videos talking about brands that are kind of struggling, not doing the best, kind of just plodding along, and in the videos, I will leave them linked down below, I kind of discussed the really main ones that I wanted to talk about. So today, we're just kind of be talking about ones that are just some brands that are just kind of wah, kind of going through the motions, not necessarily ones where I'm like, they're not gonna make it, they're gonna go under, but ones that just over the years recently have just been kind of just going along. So I'm gonna play with makeup, and we're gonna talk about that. An exciting thing is we're actually trying a new palette today, which was sent to me by one of y'all, and it is this absolutely gloriousness. I anti-hauled this. Thank you so freaking much. This is the Notepad, the green edition from the Crayon Case. Do you look? Is this not my absolute shiz? I opened this and my spirit left my body for a second. I was like, oh, this is just a matte to shimmer ratio. It looks stunning. So we're gonna be playing with this today and talking about brands that I think are kind of whoo. And if I like this, oh boy, you better believe your girl is gonna be interested in that Crayon Case company. I've anti-hauled a fair amount of their stuff. They had those notebook blush books that I was like, I really want those. But as you all know, low buy situation going on. I don't need any more blush palettes. I don't need any more blush. But today we're gonna be using this. It's just so freaking pretty. Brought y'all in just a little bit closer. I'm a little bit short, tall. And I've got my handy dandy mirror. Out of the whole Melt collection, this is probably the thing I've used the most. I was like, this is dumb. This is an add-on. And I'm like, I love this. Because I have Jeffree Star ones that I bought back in the day, but I don't want to be using those on camera and have people whatevering down in the comments. I'm thinking about actually giving them to my best friend Morgan, because I can't really have his stuff. I've gotten rid of some packaging that I've saved. I just can't have his stuff, you know, around me, because people are gonna make it a thing. But with talking about companies that are kind of just, you know, going through the motions, doing the thing, I figured we'd talk about one that is a brand that over the years I've figured that, okay, they don't really do it for me anymore. If you want a hint, they also like to take products that I love and discontinue them. And that is going to be Too Faced, everyone. Y'all probably knew this was coming. Now, I'm talking about Too Faced in the sense of, I don't think they're gonna go. Too Faced is a company that I don't believe is in that much of a threat of going under. I believe they've got enough capital in a lot of their pre-existing products. I mean, their new releases have been kind of in my opinion. But just because I'm the person who's not purchasing it doesn't mean it's not going to be purchased. I'm going to start off with this beautiful lime situation right here. I feel like this is honestly a better version of the Viseart Absinthe palette, because it's got those beautiful dark browns as well as a nice breadth of green. I mean, this is just, I opened this color story and I was just like, oh. So, with Too Faced, I feel like they're a company that recently, or by recently I mean the past couple of years, especially probably in the last, I would say around 2 years, they've just been sort of kind of trotting along, doing sort of, I mean, I don't know if safe releases is the right word, but they've just been sort of doing their thing. And in my ever so unwanted opinion, I mean, they don't give a ding dang. If I'm just like, I'm not purchasing from them, they don't care. This is a really nice, it's a very light formula. It doesn't feel heavy or anything like that. So that's really nice. I've been kind of, you know, trying to get into my artistic whatever. But Too Faced, like I said, they're a company that over the years, they don't have an eyeshadow formula. I love the majority of formulas that I love from them are discontinued, although I did see that apparently they're planning on they're reformulating and repackaging their Love Flush blushes. And a part of me is just like, yay, they're bringing something back. And a part of me is like, oh, I already have all of them. So I appreciate them for that. But I feel with Too Faced, they're just not, and with a lot of brands that I'm going to talk about today, it's going to be a little bit probably sound repetitive, but it's just like, a lot of the OG main brands like Too Faced, Smashbox, we already talked about Urban Decay, Tarte, maybe not so much, but a lot of those like big name brands that used to be like the ones to have back in the day are just kind of falling more by the wayside, which I mean clearly is just my opinion going into this. I've had a lot of y'all when I've talked about brands and stuff like that that I think are maybe not doing so well. I've had several of y'all say, well, it's your favorite end all be all, and that is amazing, fantastic. You keep doing you, boo-boo. Because we all have different preferences and whatevers and everything like that. I'm just here to give my opinion and things of the sort, so take it with a grain of salt, with a whole salt shaker, however you would like. But it's just one of those things. This year, I feel for me, well, 2020, last year for me, was the year that really disenchanted me from a majority of high-end mainstream companies. Not even just high-end, I swear, like NYX. I have come to know what I love and want when it comes to makeup. My makeup, I don't have the time or the money to be fooling around with something that may or may not work. And there is that possibility in all makeup. I mean, I've had things from companies that I love and I've tried it and been like, what is this? Who are you? Why does this suck? And Too Faced for me is just one that's just, like I said, they're just kind of there. They're not really that main mogul on the market, I feel. Blending really nice, but I can tell you right now, this little section on my eye that doesn't like to accept color is gonna be a little bit of a pain. And obviously this is being a less curated sort of type of this video, but I just... Too Faced is one of those brands, like I said, I don't feel like it's in any kind of threat to be, you know, taken down or gonna like fall under or anything like that because it's got enough capital in its, you know, pre-existing products. But Too Faced is also a company that I feel like really struggles with what it's trying to do now, what it's trying to be. They're just like, okay, we've got all this peach stuff and we've got all this fruit stuff and then we've got like our skincare, and I'm like, are you really a skincare company? Because I tell you, glitter in a face mask is not my idea of skincare. You know, it's like they know themselves and they have their like demographic and all that jazz, but they're just not cutting it for me, and I'm just not really, there just hasn't been, I can't tell you the last time I reviewed a Too Faced palette. I've decluttered all but one, and I've even thought about decluttering that one. Which reminds me, I need to film my declutter. I got this makeup in a bin that I'm just like, all I have to do is film the declutter, but for some reason, I just haven't done it. It'll be coming soonish. I mean, it's blending very nicely. It's not as this color. I wish it was a little bit more pigmented, but y'all know that I tend to go from light to dark when it comes to my gradients, and a lot of people like to tell me, well, you gotta go from dark to light. One of these days I will try that. Today is not that day. And I know a lot of you have also been part of the like camaraderie that we've got here, is a lot of y'all have been all like, yeah, pretty much disillusioned with a lot of the mainstream brands. I love it when I get messages from y'all that are all like, oh, thank you so much. How about a low buy? This really helped me. And I'm like, yes, being helpful. And kind of in the same vein as Too Faced, like I said, I'm not being as, I feel, thorough as I would in a video that's just like, just donated donated. Just related to this but I'm doing my makeup on camera. I really am happy with this. It's like lime. Blending really nice. See, this is a bad thing. Y'all send me this shiz, right? And I'm like, well, if this one's really good, what about those other they're little monochromatic palettes. I mean, I love that shiz. It's 8 colors. These are just, makes me want to go and buy the other ones. But other companies as well, like kind of in the same boat. Like although they may be, like I said, Too Faced has enough capital, I feel, to be one that isn't going to really be that threatened about being shut down. Obviously I don't know. I don't have specs. I don't have a degree. This is purely my speculation. But you've got like kind of in the same boat. You've got Lorac, you've got Smashbox. Tarte I don't even know what Tarte's doing. I did an anti-haul. I don't even know what number it was. And they released this stuff. And I was like, so now we're releasing for main releases rejected Christmas makeup. 'Cause that's what that shit looked like. It looked like cheap holiday makeup with basic color stories, looking all kinds of what. So I know what's up with that company. I mean, I have tried. I had like all those Tarte blushes and everything. Y'all probably remember those declutters, and I had products from a majority of these companies. As I just like sort of went through in my makeup journey and everything like that, they just sort of, I came to the realization that they weren't for me. Like, I think it was Tarte where I was like, if I got rid of everything I owned by Tarte, I would be okay. Except for my Man-Eater eyeliner and my Shape Tape. That is mine. My need. I have mine. And I'm already having a stroke. So, I mean, Tarte is another one of those that has a lot of staying power with its main, like, cult favorite products. Smashbox is a company that even when I was starting out in makeup, I had like the full exposure and the double exposure palettes, which I think were their answer to like the Naked palettes and the chocolate palettes and the Tartelette palettes. They had these exposure and double exposure ones. I was never in love with any of their eyeshadow formulas. I was never really in love with any of their formulas, so obviously this is just me talking about it and my experience and everything like that. I'm sure they've got products that a lot of people love, but they're another one of those companies that's just not really doing anything that's exhilarating or exciting or any kind of competitive product on the market right now. In my opinion, in my experience, allegedly, my opinion is not fact. Don't come for me down below saying I don't know what I'm talking about, because I kind of don't, but I feel that my opinion is still warranted because I like to do the talky talk. I also really like, this is a brush from Kenzie, which my mom bought me, these sets that were like at Marshall's, I think. They were like $5 for 5 or 6 brushes. And this one right here, this nice angled one, I really, really like for getting into this corner, in this outer B. I like that. It's pretty. And I mean, a lot of these were like Lorac I used to be like, everything they get, I'm gonna buy, everything they released. We had the Pro palettes, the Mega Pro palettes. There was a lot of products by them that I was down with. But at the same time, as I kind of, once again, saying, as I developed and as I went through and, discovered what I liked in makeup, it was just becoming more and more apparent that these companies didn't have what I wanted, at least when it comes to my cosmetics. Partly also because I tend to do stuff like this and they're kind of more in the neutral families. Tarte's done some colorful things, and it used to be, it kind of comes down to it for me, it used to be that quality could be equated with price point. And I've been saying this probably as long as I've been on my channel. I've reached the point where I know that that is not true. Not that there aren't really good quality products that cost a lot of money. I mean, I have my Viseart palette. That's one of my favorite end-all be-all shizzes, and that's expensive. And so obviously I'm not talking in absolutes. I'm just talking about stuff, wandering all like whatever. But when you have like Smashbox, and you've got Lorac, and you've got those ones that, like I said, I'm repeating myself. They used to be these really big moguls, and now they're just kind of sitting just kind of out on the outer whatever, sitting on the benches, waiting for their turn to come on out into the field. Just kind of playing it safe, doing your thing, and not really making any waves in the community. I mean, except for when they release terrible foundation shade ranges and stuff like that, or releasing, you know, a palette that they then say is an April Fool's joke. I mean, those were most definitely choices. But choices aside, obviously, like I said, this is just my opinion going on into this. I've just gotten to the point where I know a lot of people have, well, not a lot of people, but some of my subscribers have become a little bit, you know, because I started off as kind of like a, I don't know channel, and then I was reviewing stuff pretty heavily, I would say, in the mid part of my channel when I started to gain a little bit of a following. And over the years, I've just become less interested in spending my money on subpar products and spending my money on everything that gets released, because quite frankly, there's just so much that gets released nowadays, and there's so much that's honestly not that good. Just because it's a new release doesn't mean it's going to be this amazing end-all be-all thing, and the community would have you believe that everything that gets released is always an amazing end-all be-all thing. I am definitely someone who I've become a little awoken to the idiosyncrasies of the excessive consumerism that is perpetuated in the beauty community. Like, I've been talking to my good friend JD. He and I talk a lot. I met him through Snapchat, and he talks a lot about, he's like, I tell you, the day of, like, you know, all the excessive and rampant consumerism, you know, after the pandemic and everything like that, he's like, people are really taking a step back and thinking about what they're going to be putting their money into, which is very, very true. I definitely believe that, you know. You know, for the longest time, tried to be like sort of the kind of channel that was just, you know, out doing the whatever and reviewing everything and buying everything. I wanted so badly to be like a typical beauty guru channel, and then I've just realized that that's not going to be it for me. I am really, really happy with this. I did my eyeliner off camera because I'm a coward, and it honestly wouldn't be that exciting on camera either. It would just be like silence with me heavy breathing while I'm trying to do my eyeliner. So they're just like, wouldn't be that exciting. My eyebrows have mostly grown back in from my whateverness, so I will be doing a brow tutorial soon. I feel like I had a greater idea for how this was gonna go, and now I'm just like, it's kind of just sort of become this weird thing. I had like points and whatever, so I think we're just gonna go with the rambling right now. But in any sort of, it's always difficult whenever you're like talking about being anti-consumeristic, because as anti-consumer as you want to be, to a certain degree, you have to realize that you know, in order to discuss consumerism, and anti-consumerism, you have to come to terms with the fact that you are a consumer of some sort. I've had a couple different people come onto my channel and been like, well, you spout all this anti-consumerism stuff and then you consume. Like, there's this one person who got really, really butthurt, and they were like, well, I left a year ago and I've come back and you're just doing the same content that you did, preaching anti-consumerism while consuming everything in your path. It's like, wow, what did I do to you? That person was not happy, and I know for a fact that I have not been the best example of following my anti-consumeristic rhetoric. I will be the first to admit I love buying shiz I don't need with money I don't have. I love that. That's part of my, I've talked about shopping addiction much. It's a mental thing. It's in my head. I love buying the shiz. I went and I saw a Wet n Wild stand and they had highlighters and I was like, I would like to buy those. And they had blushes. I was like, I would like to buy those, but I didn't because I've got blush. I would rather save my money for a very specific thing that I really, 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 really want, rather than just spending it all willy-nilly. And as such, I've gotten to the point where I don't spend my money on Too Faced, Lorac, Smashbox, Tarte. It's sort of become this thing where it's like, even if they were to release something that was slightly interesting to me. I've gotten to the point where even slightly interesting isn't enough for me to say, yes, I'm going to put down my coin on this. And I feel like a lot of people have been following suit. Like I said, like with me and JD talking, there just isn't the same like absolute rampant desire to just have everything. It's sort of been it's been happening. And then when the pandemic happened, it just sort of kind of solidified it, where it was like we're really taking stock of what we have, and we're also being a lot more willing to call out brands for just all of this excessive and mindless releasing. I mean, Colourpop, I swear to high heaven. It used to be Too Faced releasing something all kinds of everywhere, and now it's like there is not a company within the industry that can keep up with the amount of products that Colourpop has been releasing. No one can keep up with Colourpop now. They really are the fast fashion. I've said this before, the fast fashion of the beauty industry, because they churn out, because like with the fast fashion, which I'm trying to not do nearly as much of because it's so bad for the environment, they have like a lot of the sites like Nasty Gal and Boohoo and Shein and Fashion Nova. They get like thousands of new styles every week. And it's just not something that the everyday consumer can handle and keep up with. And I know I'm going to have people down below. It's like, well, it's not like they're making us buy it. No, they're not making us buy it, but just sort of like the fast fashion industry, with creating so much product on the market, you are still pushing that narrative of needing to buy new things because you keep releasing new things. You know, they're not releasing it thinking, oh, we don't want anyone to buy. No, they want you to buy every single thing they release. And I understand, like I said, I'm going to have people who be like, well, not everyone buys everything. That's true. But as a company, and I understand brand, you know, it's always like it's a business, it's made to make money. I understand that. But brands also need to be held accountable for the sort of reckless consumerism that they advocate for. They're really just out here being like, buy everything, and I've had it. I'm so done with that. Like, I remember when makeup, I love how this has just turned into a discussion about oversaturation. I gotta have a shirt that just says oversaturation. Let me know down below if y'all would buy merch with a t-shirt that says oversaturation. I know you all want effervescent fairy fart, you want otherworldly, ethereal, and vaguely threatening, you want cha-cha-cha-cha, all kinds of whatever, but let me know if you would, buy merch that says, oversaturation or peak oversaturation. We could do that as well. But it's just one of those things that I've learned that it's just, I mean, I understand companies and corporations and businesses, they're not your friend. They don't care about you. And when it comes to this just sort of advocating for mindless spending and being reckless and irresponsible, it's just one of those things that really bugs me a little bit. And it may be because of my predisposition to go balls to the wall with things. It's something that I have what I would consider a moral dilemma, and I understand companies. I've learned, like recently, I love listening to deep dives and all kinds of stuff like that. I love Illuminati, and she has her corporate casket series, and she's done videos on like Goodwill, the Salvation Army, these corporations that are created for good, when in reality they're not so innocent. They're not so good as they seem to be. It blew my mom's mind. I was cooking in the kitchen, I think, and I had one of the I can't remember, it was either Goodwill or I'm pretty sure it was Goodwill, and she was just like, really? I had no idea. And you don't have the idea, because these corporations don't want you to know that they're absolutely awful. They want you to think that, oh, we love you and the customer no, the customer does not come first, let alone the employees. I love how this totally turned into something completely different than what it was originally. I was like, this is going to be a thing. We're going to talk about these specific brands, and I've just gone on a big old discussion about oversaturation. Because, I mean, part of my thing is I love makeup. I love doing the beat. I love having it as part of my artistic expression, but I love thought out, well formulated makeup. I'm not here for all the gimmickiness like I used to be. Oh, what's a good example? I'm going to talk about it today. I'm going to film an anti-haul today. But I went to Walmart with my mom, and there was this big, like I said, this big Wet n Wild display, and it had the, as of right now, new Spongebob Wet n Wild collection. And I was like, I like SpongeBob. And they had a highlighter that's this like bright gold yellow. It's totally procking off of Fenty Beauty's Trophy Wife. So if you want a affordable version of that, sure. But I was like looking at the highlighter that was, it's SpongeBob, and it's this bright golden whateverness, and I was like, you know, I'm really trying not to like buy things just to buy them, because I was like, well, I bought it because it was SpongeBob. I'm like, but I have Trophy Wife. That highlighter was not made for my skin tone. I don't need another one just because it's SpongeBob. Like, I'm really trying to be so much. I even thought about, like, I saw it. I was going to anti-haul it. I screenshotted it. I saw it and I was like, kind of want to buy that shiz. And I was with my mom and I was like, I really need to think about this. And then later I was like, you know, I'm not going to buy anything. I'm not going to give into it. You know, I was going to anti-haul it anyway, which is a really good step for me. You know, I haven't always been the best at saying no to makeup. And I feel like that's actually, I've had a couple people say that I don't take into consideration the varying demographics on my channel, being like, you know, people who, excuse me, burp squad, like the people who are buying it, the people who aren't into color stories and the color stories that I'm into. And I understand that, but at the same time, I mean, obviously I have my opinions and I try to be realistic, because I don't want to just sit on here and trash every single makeup release and every single makeup company. I am simply trying to hold them as well as myself accountable for whatever consumeristic rhetoric we're dealing with. And I'm not giving companies a pass just because they make makeup that I like. I mean, a good example of this is Colourpop, because y'all know I love a lot of their shiz, but you know that Colourpop is one of the main companies that gives me the most agita. I cannot with them. Like I said, I love a lot of the shiz that I have from them, but at the same time, I'm just like, y'all need to get it together. And their idea of getting it together is releasing a eyeshadow palette and a crazy collection every other week. You know, it's gotten to the point where I just don't care anymore. I'm like, okay, all right, that looks kind of nice, but I don't need it. Colourpop is one of those brands, also why it's kind of like the fast fashion, because it's so affordable. You know, you can go in and be like, yeah, I don't feel so bad about buying this blush because it was only $8. And I feel like in many ways, that's how they get you. You know, I've done it so many times. I've gone onto the site for one thing, and then I'm like, well, I need to get free shipping, and then we're adding this and this and this, and then it's like $50 to $100 later, you're like, oops. But at the same time, you're kind of justifying it because you're like, well, it's affordable. You know, they were having some kind of sale, and I got like 12 blushes for like $30. Whereas if I were to go high end, you know, you can't get a high end blush for less than $30. So it's kind of like the whole Amazon situation where it's like, oh, well, they've created this dynamic where you can't not go there. You know, it's this weird sort of thing. Did my lips off camera and I'm already sweating like nobody's business. I like sweat down the bridge of my nose and it was like, we're gonna take the foundation right off. And I'm like, no, stop. I love how this started off as let's talk about brands that aren't doing so well, and it turned into this just like, I hate consumerism, but I'm part of the problem. And that's kind of what it boils down to, you know? We've got this excessive, like, I mean, the consumeristic way is just, I guess, what we're doing at this point. And I know I'm part of the problem. I know I buy all kinds of whatever. And I hope you guys thought this was at least okay. I'll see how it is when I edit it, because that's really when I can see whether it's like, yeah, there was an okay flow to this, or wow, that went off the rails. Obviously, when I do any kind of these talky videos, it is my opinion only. It is just my personal observations. I would love to hear y'all's personal observations down below. Like I said, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you, and as always, keep it real. Mwah!